These were the scenes earlier this week. The police have replied with roadblocks, arrests and now a huge stop and search area covering the entire Hoo Peninsula. It's this policing that politicians from different political parties have condemned as arbitrary, destructive and aggressive. Police have replied by saying that among the activists are a hardcore committed to criminality and violence. Well, in a moment we'll hear from police and from protesters. But first, I've been up in a helicopter to get an idea of the sheer scale of what's involved. Generating controversy as well as power. As we hover over the Hoo Peninsula, below rings of protesters plot, rings of police prepare. From here, the true scale of the operation to keep the turbines turning at Kingsnorth is clear. Everywhere you look, the fluorescence of police vans, cars, motorbikes and boats. This is Fortress Kingsnorth.
Over a mile away from the power station is the so-called climate camp, and people have been arriving here since Sunday. Their aim, they say, is clear. Tomorrow, many of them will rise up and invade the power station by land, by sea and by air. And rather menacingly, their threat is to close the power station down for good.
This is no spur-of-the-moment protest. This camp has been meticulously planned. More than 1,500 people now call this home. Many more will answer this call. They're expected to arrive tomorrow.
But the protesters aren't the only ones to have set up camp here. Right now we're above Hoo, and that's where one of the biggest policing operations ever seen in the UK is being masterminded. And between the two sides, the people who live here, the people of Hoo St Werburgh. As the eyes of the nation begin to focus on what's about to unfold here, they try to live their lives as normal amid the roadblocks and the stop and search. The power station to them, of course, not only fuels their homes, but it also fuels their economy with jobs.
There's much at stake over the next 24 hours. This is a power struggle between coal power and people power. Well, at the beginning of this month, Green campaigners were warning the Earth has only 100 months, that's just over 8 years, until the climate has changed so much it can't be repaired. It's that kind of urgency that many of the people at the climate camp feel so passionately about. I've been inside the camp today to see what life is like there. Once I'd passed many of those checkpoints we saw from the sky, I climbed my way in. Once you get inside the camp, it strikes you just how well organised all this is. You've got the camping here. Now, they've divided the camps into sectors. You've got people staying here from Scotland, behind from London, and then over there from the south coast. All sorts of facilities here as well, including a large welcome tent that greets you when you first arrive. Media is being controlled. There's a big media operation there. They've even got their own television station here. So inside the welcome tent, you get welcomed by Sam.
Hey there.
Sam, what do you tell people when they first arrive at the climate camp here?
Well, the first thing we say is welcome to climate camp. You know, it's great that you've come down, and really sorry about the police outside. They kind of do hassle people a little bit, but great you've come here and welcome.
And then another welcome, this time from John, a computer programmer who's been here since day one. John, what's life like here as a camper?
Well, there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, there's lots of things that have to happen. Toilets have to be emptied, food has to be cooked. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 gates around the site, and they have to be monitored 24 hours a day.
Signs like this were up for a reason. We were marshalled around the site, told where we could film and told where we couldn't. Yes, there were the stereotypical eco-warriors inside, but also many families from different walks of life.
My background is in banking, so I generally work in investment banking and retail banking, software, project management.
And how does that tie with the ethos of the camp? No to capitalism.
It doesn't tie together particularly. If anything, yeah, this is an eye-opener.
Kevin, you've been looking after us since we've been in here. It's 1 o'clock and you're telling us to turn our cameras off. Why?
It's basically, we have 2 hours of media access, and that's a compromise between being able to help the media out with their stories and also creating a nice space for the week where people are living, and this is effectively their home, and we want them to feel comfortable so they're not just having cameras in their faces at all times.
And on the way out, it was our turn to be stopped and searched.
Have you got anything on your shark?
Nope.
Can you just step back from me a little bit, please? Thank you very much. You. Anything else at all?
Isn't this a little bit extreme?
No, it's what's happening to everybody.
Can you stand back, please? Do you mind? You're going to need space.
Yeah, all right. Everybody waiting to come out?
What's your full name, please?
It's Ian James Axton.
That's all we're about.
Well, I have to say that was the first time in 38 years that I've ever been stopped and searched. I've still got my bit of paper as a souvenir, and that wasn't stunted up for the cameras at all. That was absolutely genuine, and I have to say it was quite intimidating. Joining me now is Timothy Lever, who's been working up at the climate camp all week. Timothy, why is it so important to you to take this direct action tomorrow and see Kings North closed down?
Well, climate change is the most urgent threat facing us on this planet. We are already seeing 150,000 people being killed every year by the effects of climate change, and it's only going to get worse. If we burn new coal, we can say goodbye to our chance of meeting our carbon targets and hello to climate disaster.
Those arguments have been well rehearsed, well debated, but direct action, that's not the way to change people's views.
Ultimately, we've reached the point where this kind of peaceful, non-violent, direct action against climate criminals like E.ON, the company that owns Kings North, seems to be the only way left in which we can make a stand. Government and business are failing. They are not listening to public opinion. They're rushing ahead with new fossil fuel projects. And that's why people have come together here for a week of sustainable living and education. And it's why tomorrow many people will take part in this action. And what's been so interesting is that despite all the sort of scare stories and heavy police presence, more and more people are arriving at the camp, and we now have more than 2,000 people there.
More than 2,000 people. Timothy, thank you very much indeed. Well, the scale of the police operation to protect the power station and police the camp itself, as we've already seen from the air, is enormous. So why such a huge operation? And crucially, what is it going to cost? And what are the police plans for this coming weekend? Our reporter Ian McLaren has been following the story for us all week.